to our Include and Inspire business event. Can you hear me? I know. Which one? This one? Yeah, okay. I'll try to project my inner microphone voice. Welcome to our Include and Inspire business series, Edinburgh Edition. It's been nostalgic for us because we started off in Edinburgh. I remember the first event that we ran at Codebase, Edinburgh, just over there, in collaboration with Black Professionals Scotland. And we're looking to just get people in the room to talk about ethnic minority entrepreneurship because while I worked at Black Professionals Scotland with Enoch, we found that companies were coming to us and saying, how do we reach ethnic minority founders? And they felt Black professionals was the place to go, but that wasn't the primary people that we're looking to support. So there was a need for us to create Knowvate Hub to support ethnic minority founders and entrepreneurs alike. About us, we are building a community of ethnic minority entrepreneurs. You notice that I didn't say four. It's off because the community is us. It's basically we facilitating. We are the facilitators just looking to make sure that we are connecting as a community, that everybody's coming together and talking about their ideas, and ideating together and collaborating with each other, so that we can move forward as one people. I feel like together we'll be able to achieve more success than looking to do it on our own, especially if you've come here and you do not have a primary network here in Scotland. It's really important that you see people who have done it before you and you see how they've done it and you learn from it. So we provide support that is tailored to the needs of ethnic minority entrepreneurs. Our mission and vision, I'll just go through this. We've talked about it. It's just to create an inclusive and safe entrepreneurial ecosystem in Scotland. I came here, finished my master's, and I started a tech company, and I found that I worked in isolation. There are things that I know now as an ecosystem builder that if I had known it then, maybe I would have made more success or achieved more with the company that I was running. So it's really important to me. I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about the community. But it's really important to me that people know the opportunities that exist and support that you have, because there are a lot of people, I know Ollie will get to that are here to support you and help you succeed. But if you don't know about them, then you're not able to leverage it. Our vision is to make the Scottish business community truly diverse. Trying to get people to ethnic minority entrepreneurs to come and do these fireside chats, it's like there are so few people to pick from, because we have very few success stories. So the idea is that together we can build more success stories, and there are more people who are doing exceptional things in business and building global businesses from Scotland. Go on, empower, connect, inspire growth, and advocate for your interests. I think between myself and Enoch and a lot of people who are supporting in the background, there are a lot of advocacy that will be happening for ethnic minority entrepreneurs. We were doing this before now, but having a platform to then go full out and continue to advocate to make sure that ethnic minority entrepreneurs are being supported, because the support that exists are more tailored to everybody. But the problems that we face, a Scottish entrepreneur who grew up here might not be facing problems of how to get the right visa to be able to start their business. Or I know some founders who I support who have to take menial work through the night and still want to come in and do their business. They don't have enough. So trying to do those things, make ends meet, without a primary network to uphold them while they're trying to build. There are so many things that we do need, but community helps us to come together and discuss these problems and find solutions to those problems and advocate for everyone within that network and collectively and make changes. This is the team just now. But we do have a lot of people volunteering in the background, helping us set things up. Shout out to Ben. Thank you for today. We have Josh, who directs our digital media. Myself, who runs the programs and initiatives. We have Enoch, who does the operations and partnerships. And Golden, she's not here. The general, she just joined us this year. And Ridwan, who does our digital media coordination. Thank you, everyone. It takes a lot of work to get this done, especially because this is not our day jobs. So again, we've talked about the services that we offer: advocacy, representation, training and networking events, business support, mentorship, and guidance. If you're looking to connect with us, please follow us. And at the end of the event, we're going to put up a backdrop. Please scan the why do I keep forgetting? The box thing. QR code. I've struggled with this since last week. Please scan the QR code and leave us your feedback. It's important to us that we get it right. We don't want to solve problems that we think exist. We want to focus on the problems that you say exist. So giving your feedback to this event means that we tailor the events to meet your needs. So we're looking, because it's a community for all of us, it's important for us that the solutions that we're providing are not things that we are imagining, but things that are being raised by the community themselves. At this point, I'll welcome Amy Bonnet, who has made this possible at KPMG. We're in this beautiful building. Thank you, Amy, and please.
Hi, everyone. Really delighted to be here tonight and to host you. I've had some great networking already and going to get a few coffees in the diary, which is a lot of what this is about. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the keynotes later. So I'm Amy. I work here in this building in KPMG, and I work for our Emerging Giants team. And that's a team that supports fast-growing tech startups and scaling businesses. We play our part in the local ecosystem by hosting events like this, by connecting people, and by running our Tech Innovator in the UK award. And we support the wonderful team that run the KPMG's Black Entrepreneur Awards as well. So I'd like to tell you about those two awards, if that's okay. So our Tech Innovator in the UK awards, that's going to open in spring 24. And typically we look to attract businesses that have raised about £500,000, are tech enabled, and they're under 5 years old. And they go through a competition regionally, nationally, and then we take the UK winner out to Lisbon during Web Summit, and we have a global tech innovator competition there. So that's really exciting. I'd also love to tell you a little bit about our Black Entrepreneur Awards, which is set up by my brilliant colleague Olu about 5 years ago. And that's aimed to provide talented Black heritage entrepreneurs with access to funding, publicity, expert-led business workshops, and mentoring to create a community of like-minded business owners. So we've been running that for 5 years now. We have various categories. We have a £25,000 cash prize in those categories. Last year we had 150 businesses apply, and they were really, really excellent businesses. I was really fortunate enough to do a workshop with them on pitching, and they were really incredible. So that's going to open again this year, probably mid-June, for about 6 weeks. So do connect with me. I'll be shouting about that when the opportunity comes. And I would love it if we got a Scottish entrepreneur pitching at the final, which takes place in October. A few other little things from me. Just make sure I've got it all covered off. Yes, toilets are out the door to the left. There should not be a fire alarm tonight, but if there is, follow me and look for the little man with the green symbols. And that's it. I wish Knowvate and all the team all the best for tonight and for future events. And I'd love to follow the journey, and I'll be doing that. Thank you. Is it you?
Is it me?
Over.
I just go first?
Yeah, okay, you've got that, right?
I've got my special little one. Yeah, I get this little luxury thing here. Sorry, bear with me again, folks, while I do my bit of AV moment. Oh, no, not you. Oh, that might have worked first time. There you go. Oh, cool. Oh, well, thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, for coming along tonight. Braving the freezing cold temperature. I've been looking at my weather app constantly for the last couple of weeks trying to figure out when it's going to stop being freezing again, and it's about a week away, just so we know. But thanks so much to Onyinye and Nick, wherever Nick has gone, for having me along tonight. I'm going to talk a bit about what the Edinburgh startup ecosystem is. I'm going to talk a bit about how you can interact with it in like a meaningful way, and give some sort of practical advice in terms of next steps. And before I get started, is that going to work? Can I just apologize for my appearance? I was wearing like a really nice shirt and I spilt a cup of tea on it like just literally an hour ago, like before I came across the road. Like I was dressed better than this for tonight, so apologies. But I'm Ollie. I'm Ollie Littlejohn. I'm VP of R&D at Codebase, which is just across the road. My day job is actually researching startup ecosystems right now. That's what the R is, and I'm trying to develop a software product around startup ecosystems as well. So very early days. I actually worked for Codebase for 8 years before that, building the community there, so I have a lot of experience there. But I've just come back after working in a startup for the last year and a half. I joined almost by chance. I was working in a pub, and I got offered the chance to cover the reception in what was Codebase for a month, and that was nearly a decade ago. And I sort of stuck around, and my role grew and grew and grew, and now Codebase has become this. Can I check who in the room's heard of Codebase? Cool. Okay, a good percentage, but it's a company that supports startups, and we're all across Scotland. There's nearly 100 staff now supporting software startups to grow, and that's what we do. I'll come on to that a bit more in a bit. But I want to talk about what the startup ecosystem is, and also kind of demystify what a startup is as well, because I think we throw the word around a lot recently, and I think there is a definition that I quite like, which is from a guy called Steve Blank, which I won't read. But the key word that I really like in this is that temporary thing. So this idea that a startup is a temporary organization. It's the startups that I know in Codebase, they don't know quite often who their customers are, or what the market they're trying to approach is, or even what their product is sometimes. They're trying to figure all of that stuff out, which makes them very different to a traditional business where quite often, if you open a bakery, you kind of know that you're selling bread to people nearby, or maybe to businesses or something like that. But startups, there's a lot more uncertainty about them. And I think that's really important for a point I'll come back to. And this ecosystem, this idea that there's this sort of network of connected businesses, this is a prime example of it here tonight. All of these people who connect and can learn from each other. And primarily, the startup ecosystem is about supporting startups to grow or to be their best selves. But it's more than just startups, and people forget this quite often, that startups are the most important part for sure. And there's lots of them about, and there's a whole building full of them just across the road in Codebase and around the city. There's other places as well. Scale-ups, so startups that have actually made it and are growing, super important because people can look to them for ambition and say, hey, we can do that. There's only really a couple of those in Edinburgh, I would say. Skyscanner and FanDuel. Who's heard of Skyscanner, out of curiosity? And FanDuel, the less famous one. But those are the kind of two main big scale-ups. And the people there, they've done it, and now they talk to the community again, and they support them, and they mentor, and that's great. They feed right back into the community and the ecosystem to support. Investors are a really valuable part of the ecosystem as well. That's probably goes without saying. It's great if you can get someone to give you money to de-risk and grow your business. It's really important that we connect with them and make them feel part of the ecosystem. And ecosystem builders, I'm going to come back to that one in my next slide, because I think that's actually kind of the crucial bit here. The government's just necessary. We need to make sure this is a place where people can live and get visas and work, and people want to live here and stay in Scotland. Like, can't undervalue that when you're growing. You need people who want to be here and work for you. Corporates like lovely KPMG hosting us tonight. Thank you so much. Woo! Yes. I've walked past this building 1,000 times. I've never been in, and it's just lovely to actually come in and share the space.
Delighted to have everyone. Honestly, it's great.
But corporates are so valuable. Listen to the programs, the amazing things that corporates do. Like, and it's not just KPMG. It is all of the big businesses. But also, I mean, if you're a startup, especially if you're selling to enterprises, these are your customers as well. I know so many people in that building in Codebase across the road who would kill to walk in here and like have a chat with some of the people, because getting those customers, those big customers, it's so valuable. Having corporates is brilliant. And professional support services, you need accountants, you need lawyers, you need HR people, That's just a fact. And I think like universities and colleges get a bit of they don't get enough of showing in the startup ecosystem, but they're so valuable. These are your future employees that they're training up in there. There's research opportunities, grant opportunities. And I think it's crucial that we involve them in this huge ecosystem. Now, I like thinking about the ecosystem as these kind of nodes. There's probably a better way of thinking about it in terms of the connections between those different nodes, like how startups interact with corporates. And then maybe if you've been in the pub and had a couple of drinks, you start talking about the connections between the connections. But I think it gets a bit philosophical at that point. And for me, just to ground myself in reality, I like to think about these are the components of a thriving ecosystem. And what I really want to talk about tonight is how ecosystem builders can help you as startups to grow your business. Because this is a relatively new term. I saw Nick Murray post about it on LinkedIn like a few weeks ago, but people are starting to call themselves this more and more. And I think it makes sense. These are people who are like evangelical about startups and supporting entrepreneurs and helping them grow. And often they're individuals like who just do it because they love it. I'll come on to two of them in a little bit. Sometimes they work for organizations, so for KPMG or for Nick works for Barclays, Onyinye's at Codebase, I'm at Codebase as well. We're getting paid to help startups grow. Like that is our job, it's our remit, we love doing it. And they're super, super valuable. They can make or break your startup in my opinion, because when you've approached, you've seen these, okay, I can only go forward. It's fine, we'll just go forward, never look back. Oh, now I go back, amazing. Okay. So these people can be super, super helpful to you, but in Edinburgh alone, these are a handful of the ecosystem builders who can help you. And I ran out of space, there's loads more. And I promise you, I spent ages trying to like make everyone's logos the same size, like not to make anyone feel like bigger or smaller than anyone else. There's so much support out there that it's actually kind of overwhelming. And I'm sorry, KPMG aren't here. Okay, next time, yeah, mental note. But there's so many options of where you can go. And I think if you're a new founder, especially trying to just break into the ecosystem for the first time, that first step is really difficult. And so making sense of it all is tricky. And I'm in this privileged position of having spent the last decade in this world, and I kind of know all of these organizations reasonably well, or kind of know what they do. But my suggestion would be to all founders is to try and find other founders, always. That should be your goal. If you're a startup, you want to talk to startups. Like, it's great to talk to corporates and to ecosystem builders and academia, but really, you want to find the shortest path to other people who are on your journey. That's the crucial thing for me. Those people who have made the mistakes for you already, like that's so vital. If you can find people who are 2 years ahead of you, 3 years ahead of you, all the better. But doing a startup, building a business, it's hard and it's lonely and you need support. And I would say using ecosystem builders to find other entrepreneurs is crucial at the start of your journey. But I didn't want to give that as that's like the high level, like here's what I'd suggest doing, but I wanted to give like some actionable stuff you can do today. And if you want to take photos, I'd suggest this is like to add to your to-do list. If you really want to start learning about the Scottish technology ecosystem, or what's going on in Edinburgh, these are two great newsletters, both run by people who are ecosystem builders, Jamie and Rob. They don't get paid for it. They do it because they love the ecosystem and they want to support and help people as best they can. Every Monday, they send out a newsletter of like, here's the latest news, here's the latest events, here's all the stuff that's going on. Super valuable to just understand what's happening. There's events. I feel like events aren't for everyone, but I feel like this group is kind of self-selected for we go to events because you're here tonight. So I thought I'd include some you can go to. There's so many in Edinburgh. Again, your ecosystem builder can help you find the right one for you. I thought I'd highlight 3 that are coming up because there's so many that's going on. But these are mostly free events that you can just sign up to and come along to, and there'll be free food. The food probably won't be as good as tonight, just to warn you. Like it'll be like Papa John's pizza most of the time. But you can come along. There's coffee mornings. So Unfiltered is a coffee morning. So if going to evening events isn't for you, if you have, often these meetups are in the evening, and I have 2 small kids, and like this is like my one night out a month, you know. So I think if there's stuff going on during the day, you can find it as well. So I suggest coming along to these. And lastly, there's some great programs out there as well, and these are mostly free. So for us, where has Nick gone? Where is Nick? Oh, is he? I'm giving you a shout out right now. Nick is one of the people that runs For Us, which is just a great organization who take founders on trips all around the world. It's generally fully funded, so the Scottish Government will fund you to go to, where have you been, Lisbon, New York, Helsinki?
Silicon Valley, often Austin in a few weeks.
Yeah, so, and Nick will take 15 entrepreneurs on this trip for a week or so, say, and I guarantee you, by the end of that trip, like 3 of the people you went with will be like your best friend. They'll be like 10 years later, you know, you'll be reminiscing about how you met and like the businesses that you've built, or maybe you didn't, maybe they didn't succeed, but you'll find like amazing people that you will, you know, be your partners for that journey. And so TechScaler as well. TechScaler is delivered by Codebase, who I work for, and I feel like there's a sniper in the building across the road who'll like shoot me if I don't mention it, so I feel I had to bring it up. But it's also awesome. It is also really good, and like I'm really proud of what we deliver. It's free, but there's self-directed courses, so if you want to learn the basics of Startup 101, you can just do it in your own time at home. There's programs that you can join either remotely or in person in Edinburgh or all around Scotland. Everything from starting out to you know, full-on scale up. You've got 500 employees. Oh God, how do I cope with this? And yeah, totally free. So if you're looking for you know, your next step, consider joining one of the TechScaler programs. But I wanted to add a couple of caveats to this advice. I've been in this world for like 10 years now, and I see people who are just, they do this stuff all the time. They're just constantly at events, and they're constantly doing programs, and they're constantly just sort of in the ecosystem, and they've not actually built a company. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a startup, there's actually a moment when you need to start having some customers and having a product and selling. It's really easy to just talk about it at these kinds of things, but I think like if after a year of doing your business, you're like, I'm spending all my time at meetups getting pizza and, you know, free coffee and stuff, but I'm not actually growing the business, like take a moment to consider what your priorities are. And secondly, Edinburgh is a small city in the grand scheme of things. We actually punch above our weight for startup success. Again, with Skyscanner and FanDuel, that's unusual to have 2 big organizations like that. But you need to remember that the world is huge, and like sometimes the best support for you won't be in this city. And plugging into more global networks is really, really important. I mean, as simple as LinkedIn, you know, being able to access support from outside of Scotland, super valuable. And I guess I just wanted to say, like, Codebase is committed to, you know, having everyone is welcome there, you know, and I think this is true of most of the startup, the ecosystem support people that I know. They want everyone to succeed, and they want to help everyone, no matter what your background is. People really have got your back, and they want to make sure that you get the best out of the ecosystem. But that also comes with a caveat that it may be the first people that you talk to might not be the right people. I don't want to name names, let's say Codebase, because I work there. It may be that you talk to Codebase and discover they are not the right people to give you the support. They won't connect you to the right investors or help you with the problems that you're facing right now. And it may be that you need to speak to another organization and find them. But I promise you, you'll find someone who will be your champion and support you and connect you to other founders. It just can take a little bit of time. And yeah, this is, I think when approaching these organizations as well, it's really good. Like you need to reach out to them, I think. Like you can't expect them to come to you a lot of the time. And that can be as simple as a message on LinkedIn or like a Twitter DM or like just an email. Remember them? And getting in touch with them and saying, like, here is what I need help with is really, really important as well. So all of these organizations, that big mess of people out there, they all want to help, but they all want to know what to help you with. And I think that's crucial, is say, hey, here is what I need help with. And yeah, I don't want to be like, it's everyone else doing the help. I'm I'm going to offer myself as well. I'm not quite as connected to the startup ecosystem as I was because I've just been away for a little while, but my whole thing is who gets to build software has changed. So if you want to do a software startup, if you want to do an app or a platform or something like that, and you're not a technical person, you can't code, you can still build it. It's possible. I know it, I've seen it, that's the world I've been in for the last couple of years. And if that is who you are, and you're struggling with that step of like, how do I build my software when I have an idea, but I can't code, I'm delighted to come and help you like learn how you can do that really quickly and for like very little money, compared to what a coded solution would cost. So that's my area of expertise. If you want to talk about that stuff, I'm always open, but I'm open to talk about anything, really. I'm just up for whatever. And come on. Come on, it's the last slide. The last slide is just my email address. I could just tell you instead. Oh, that's saying, okay. Oh, okay, hang on. It's come over, it's here for some reason. Well, I hope that's legible, right? Yeah. So I just thank you so much for listening to my views of what the ecosystem is and how it can perhaps help you. I'm genuine, like please email me, and like if you want to have a follow-up coffee or a chat about what I can do for you or what Codebase, or I can help connect you to other people as well. I'm delighted to do that. But just to say, you're welcome. We'd love to help support however we can. So thank you. So you don't listen to my talk, and then you steal my seat. This is outrageous. Enoch, am I passing over to you? Sorry, is it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Cozy up.
Yeah. You come.
Okay, that was a lot of drama. My name is Enoch Ademi. I'm one of the co-founders here at Knowvate Hub. So I'm going to be hosting the fireside chat with our two guests today. And our first guest is John Uwagwe. If you can please take a seat, John. Thank you very much. Just grab a seat. Comfortable?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's hope with the fire.
Did you buy a new suit for this event?
No, I had this one since. Let's go back. I think I've had this suit genuinely for about 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So John, do you kindly want to describe yourself without telling us what you do for work?
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Uwagwe, and I think when I think about myself, I would probably tell you about three things without talking about work. Number one, I'm a man of faith. I grew up going to church mostly, so I believe in God, and it's my belief and my upbringing. I am married. I've got two beautiful girls. And when I think about myself as an individual, one of the reasons why I start with faith is one of the gifts I think I always want to showcase and want people to see when they think of anything is the act of the possibilities. So what do I mean by that? It's especially in this city, being in Edinburgh, that whatever you put your mind into is possible. So that's the first thing I will tell you about myself. I push myself beyond limits to always show that when people say it's not possible, I show them that it is possible. So that's one thing about me. Number two about me is I also nurture, I want to push people to their full potential. When I had the first opportunity to manage anybody in my career, the first thing I said was I wasn't going to be like my first manager, because I sort of saw some things that I didn't want people that I would work with to sort of see in me. So I'm one of those people that I enjoy, one of the things I enjoy the most is nurturing people and helping them sort of reach full potential.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just, yeah, most times when we ask people to describe themselves, straight away they tell you, I am an accountant and whatever. So just good to know you as a person. And if you, moving on from that, I know you're involved in a few businesses. At a high level, do you want to quickly describe what you do for, what these businesses are?
Okay, so we've got 3 businesses, and you'll be bored of these names because they're all in my last names, so forgive me. And maybe I will get to the story why. So the first business we've got is Workboy Foods, which is a retail, African grocery retail shop. It was what brought us to selling literally anything. Never sold anything before. As I said, I work in the financials when we both knew each other. So I was a banker and I'd never sold even a pen, and until we started with the retail food business. Yes, I'm gonna go to the second one now. The second one is Workboy's Kitchen and Grill, which is I would describe it as Edinburgh's finest Nigerian restaurant. Believe me, if you haven't been. And the third one is Workboy Holdings, and that is our real estate company. So yeah, high level, sorry.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So I've known John for 10 years, 11 years?
Maybe more.
Yeah. So when we were working together at Lloyd's Banking Group, not so far from here.
Yeah.
We used to go to your house for lunch back in the days. And I remember then there was no talk about entrepreneurship or whatnot. We're just sort of trying to survive in the corporate space, trying to make sure we don't piss our managers off, and trying to get promotion.
Yeah.
But take us back, to when you were growing up. When did you migrate to the UK, and what were you doing before starting these businesses?
Okay, I'll probably start from how I got here. So I was born in Nigeria, like I said, never left Nigeria until I found myself in Scotland. And I remember the first day I stepped my foot into Heathrow. It was the coldest day of my life.
Is it as cold as today?
Believe me, it's the
it
coldest day. It
probably felt colder because we are coming from...
It's the coldest day of my life. There's nothing anybody's going to tell me. Even if today becomes minus 30, that day is still the coldest day of my life because I'd never experienced it. So I left Nigeria. I arrived here on the 6th of October in 2008, remember that date. And straight from there, I went straight to St. Andrews. So there was no even in between England, kind of soft weather. It was straight to St. Andrews with the North Sea next to me. It's like, who did I offend? But yeah, and then I studied, did my master's in management and IT, and then moved into Edinburgh and got a job. My first job, proper job, was with Le Monde Hotel, which is not too far. I think it's on the other side of town now.
Is it on George Street?
George Street, yeah. So I was the 9th auditor there. Interesting job. And then from there I got the bank job where I think I met you maybe 3 or 4 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your time at Le Monde, would you say it was a waste of time? Because
No.
Yeah, so tell us. I mean, that was not part of your career path, right? But
No, it wasn't.
You were there.
Yeah.
So what did it take from there? Because sometimes we find ourselves in places where we don't want to be. But the thing is, how can you make the most of whatever situation you're at? So do you want to share some of that?
I think for me, it was, like I said, it was just that act of the possibilities and believing. So I did a few more worse jobs than that one, to be honest. Well, I'll take that back now because people do those jobs, so I wouldn't say worse jobs. But, so as a student, I was a security man. So my very first job was making sure I got my SIA badge, and I was a doorman in a pub. And then straight after that, I took that experience and landed myself my first customer service job in a retail shop. Believe me, the interview went like this. So tell me about a time where you've settled customer or helped customer. And the only time I had was as a doorman. And I flipped it and I said, look, as a doorman, I help people come in, I welcome them, I make them comfortable. They see me at the door, they know that they're secured, there will be no violence and all that. And I got the job. And straight away I took that and I said, well, that means there's no job that I cannot do and transfer some sort of skill into. And from there I got my customers, I got the Le Mans job. From there I got a customer service job in the bank. It was all customer service. And then I knew that my visa was running out. I needed something that would keep me in this country. It was at that point I started to look for my kind of role because I did IT, and I looked for a job within the bank that then sponsored my visa.
So that was internally?
Internally, yeah.
Okay.
So I did 3 customer service jobs before landing my first IT consultant role that eventually sponsored me in the bank. So it was just knowing that it was possible and knowing that if I had an experience here, I could tell this other person about that experience and they will find it useful for me to join their team.
Okay, fantastic. So leading on what you just said leads us into the next question. Your background, I remember then when we were both at Lloyd's Banking Group, you were a risk manager, you were in risk.
Yeah.
And somehow you've ended up in retail. And yes,
I'm everywhere, sorry.
Yeah, and the restaurant business. So how did you make that transition from working within Lloyd's Banking Group in risk or in professional services to owning this kind of businesses, if I could call them that, because it's outside your, what a risk manager would start?
Yeah. So I think there were 2 things that were very clear to me while I was growing up. There was 2 things I really wanted to do. Number 1, I wanted to work in a bank. And number 2, growing up, I said I wanted to own a joint.
What do you mean by joint?
Yeah, those from Nigeria would know what this means. But let me explain, right? Because in Nigeria, a restaurant or a pub, what you call a pub is a joint, right? That's the best.
So basically that's where people
just
drink
congregate.
alcohol.
Yeah,
congregate.
So 2 reasons why those things sort of appealed to me. So number 1, the bankers in Nigeria were the most dressed people, beautiful people, right? They would wear the best set of clothes, even if they had no money. I didn't care about the money. I just loved how they appeared at the time. And so growing up, I sort of just loved them, and I kept saying, look, I wanted to be a banker. And then for the joint part, it was, I think for me, what I really wanted or what appealed to me was I could see how people could just be in a place and they would be themselves, not because of alcohol or anything, but it's just somewhere where you can just let loose, have a nice conversation, meet people, network, talk about anything that, appeals to you. And so those were my 2 big dreams. And then coming here, eventually I managed and successfully got a bank job. And why did I do the restaurant or business here? The whole business idea in the UK is my wife's. It wasn't something I wanted to do. But I leveraged on her skills. She was somebody, or she's somebody who can find something on the internet very cheap, right? So as an example, when we were getting married, we went into a wedding store and the wedding gown was like 2,500. She was like, nah, not buying it. She found it on the internet, same dress, 150 pounds. Honest to God.
But did you give her the 350?
Calm down.
To be fair.
For me, that was kind of when I knew that I was onto something in future if I married this woman, right? So she was she was and we sat down and I said, look, you have this thing as a gift. Why not us start using it? And you, in fact, at the time, it was how I was saying, you do it for yourself. And then one day she told me, she said, I miss Nigerian bomo. It's a meat. It's a kind of a meat. Cow skin. And she said, I miss this meat. Nobody brings it into the UK successfully. I said, well then, bring it. And then she started bringing it. And I remember somebody saying, oh, but your husband is rich. Why are you doing this? He works in the bank. I said, tell them your husband delivers this bomo for you himself. And within a couple of months, she was able to sell these things. And I think I gave her 200 pounds to start. And in a couple of months, she sold this thing and made 1,000 pounds. That was when I knew that this was onto something. The African shop we later bought, we were supplying that shop. So we went to supply when the guy said to me, oh, by the way, we're selling the shop. So this will be your last supply. And I said, well, I'll buy the shop. And that was how we bought the shop. So that's
I laugh because they did tell me that same thing. They said they were going to be selling the shop, but I said I was not going into the retail business. So I guess you took the bait.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got the shop on Gogi Road.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how did you then go on from there to your next venture, which was the restaurant?
The restaurant, yeah. So the restaurant was always the plan, right? One of the reasons why I bought the shop, like I said, I never had the shop thing as part of the plan at all. The only reason why the shop appealed to me was I knew that if I ran my restaurant, I needed my supply. And so it was just a no-brainer when the opportunity came, to buy that. Because I knew that even if we don't use it as it should, it would feed the restaurant. So when we had that, I said to my wife, I said, look, now we have this. I don't know why there is no Nigerian restaurant in Edinburgh, but we can try and see if this would work. So we registered our kitchen at home and started cooking from there and selling on Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the food shop. So people knew that they could come in and get food. On a Saturday morning, you'd see the boys coming from football pitch. They've gone to play football. They come for like akara, bread and all that. You know, we'll bring akara. Normally we'll sell bread. You know, it just all went together and we were sort of trying different things to know if this would work. And immediately we knew that it was going to work. We still kept going. We were just waiting for the right time. COVID then hit straight away. I'd found a place which is even closer to this place, where we wanted to do the restaurant at the time, but because of COVID, I told the landlord, look, I'm not going to take this because it was a massive, massive place. But while I was about to give up, something just said, why not try takeaway? Africans don't do takeaway. Like, I've never seen any African takeaway anywhere. We go to places, sit down and eat.
It's part of the
Yeah,
experience.
that's our culture, right? But I said, well, then why not? Let's try it. It's COVID anyway. And then that was why we started off as takeaway.
Right.
It was never a plan to do takeaway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how did you
Yes.
then how did you evolve from that to where you are today with the business?
So I think it was really easy because for the takeaway, because it was not our stopping point, you know, every day our plan was to make sure we get into the big space that we wanted initially. So we just needed to give it time. I kept saying to myself and the team, let's give it time. This thing will work. Let's get people to know us. So one of the things we did was we made a lot of sacrifice. I'm not even going to lie to you. When we started, we as a takeaway, we were very fortunate to have some friends that drive. So we brought everybody in and we were delivering everywhere, literally everywhere. We would go to as far as South Queensferry for a £20 order and they'll pay £5 for delivery. We would deliver to Musselburgh. Yeah, we'll deliver to Musselburgh for an order of £12 and they pay £5 and they would still complain, oh, the food is late. Well, Jesus, you have no idea. I even delivered to as far as Livingston, you know, for £5. For me, what I kept saying to myself at that time and to the guys, because most of my friends that were driving their cars, even though I was paying for the fuel, you can't pay for the mileage on these cars, right? But I kept saying to them, look, this is the time for sacrifice. We want people to taste it. I know the food is good. All I wanted was people to taste it. Let it be, let the name go out there, let them taste it, let them know about it. And when the time eventually comes, when we have a big space, people know us already.
Fantastic, fantastic. And thank you for sharing all that story. So I'll take you back slightly because it sounds like it's all been rosy. But I want to guess that's not been the case. Yeah. So what I've learned from this story, what I've heard is the power of flexibility. Mm-hmm. Around, you know, the ultimate goal for you was to to have a restaurant, but you saw an opportunity to take ownership of a store and you took it. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing about flexibility was you wanted a fully fledged restaurant, but you saw an opportunity to start a takeaway in the hopes that you'll eventually, because, you know, one of the challenges we face as entrepreneurs is this is the product I want to sell, and that is the only product I want to sell. Mm-hmm. There's no room for flexibility. But I guess you baked that into your system. And then also with things like, you know, how did you manage things like people, finance, tax, and all that? I know you come from financial services background, so maybe those things were easier for you. But still, what challenges did you face, you know, getting through all that, especially in the early days? Yeah.
I mean, those challenges are there as with anyone. I think even an accountant will struggle with...
I wouldn't.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Well, that's why you're an accountant then. But genuinely, one of the things that when it came to tax and all that, I just got a professional, right? If you know, in the interest of time, if there's anything I would teach anybody, I think you said something when you were talking, or it was Onye who said it. If there's anything I think I have learned myself, if there are professionals to do the job, just get them to do it, right? Believe me, it will save you a lot of time. It will save you a lot of money you think you don't have or you think you're trying to save. So when it came to things like tax, paperwork and all that, I just get people like, you know, professional accountants to deal with that, because if you get it wrong, especially when you're trying to start a business, it could be the end of the business, because there's so many things that can make the business fail, and getting it wrong from the beginning, it's like, don't even bother. Yeah. So for me, it was that. I'll give you an example of why I say that. So when we were starting the takeaway, I knew that I didn't know anything about food. I've never cooked for anybody other than myself and my family. And once you start to go into public domain and serve the public, there's a lot of things you need and all that. I hired somebody straight away.
Certificates. And,
Yes.
Yep.
I just hired a guy who did all the paperwork for us. He helped us. He was a chef from a 5-star hotel, restaurant, kitchen, right? He helped us. He sort of prepared us for all the interviews we would go with the environmental and food agency, all those people, that it was so clear that we had done a good job. When we submitted our paperwork, the man said, "You've given me too much for the size of what you have." He said, "Did you hire somebody to do this?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Oh, you didn't have to." I said, "I have to." And I said that, I meant it. I said, look, because two things. Number one, I'm already a black man, right? It's already a black business, right? You already have this mindset that I'm going to do something wrong. So I want to help you know that I know that we cut a lot of corners, right? As people, let's be honest with ourselves. I don't want to fall into that. And for that reason, I get professionals to just take that burden off me, and we look good.
Fantastic. And I'll touch on something else as well that may be relevant to our audience. So with everything that's happened, you still have a 9-to-5 job?
Yes.
So how do you manage your 9-to-5 with these fast-growing businesses that I guess that you and your family are managing?
The gift of people, right? I think it's about trusting people and, making sure you're able, because if you think about it, and this is what I always say, the job we do, our 9-to-5, somebody trusts you enough to employ you to do that job. And that's why they've given you that, right? So one of the things we said when we bought the shop was we were never going to leave our job because of the African shop. And when we were going to open the restaurant, we knew we needed to, right? So we both resigned. I left the bank at that point and went into this full-time with my wife. We both gave it our 100%. And when we were able to build systems that people could walk into and run, I then said, well, you would continue to stay, this was my wife, and I would return to work. And it was at that point I went back to work. My wife only went back to work 3 months ago now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so do you think partnership has helped you as well then? Because I guess it's a partnership in some way, shape or form. Because sometimes folks have business ideas, but then they've got a gap.
Yeah.
And they can't feel it. Now you said you've paid people to help you do something.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't have funding or you don't have the cash to pay someone. So could there be potential then for people sometimes to just get someone else to come as a co-founder or co-starter, whatever you want to call it? Is there value in that? In your
I think
opinion?
it's valuable, yeah, because sometimes it's one of those things where I think just bouncing ideas off people sometimes I would have made some silly mistakes. I get really excited about stuff. And just going home and talking through those things and, somebody to just poke the bear, ask a few questions and you go, oh yeah, that's true.
It wasn't a great idea after all.
I'm not stupid, but yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And the final question you'll be pleased to know is, what are the long-term plans for, I guess, your family business? Where are you guys planning to take this?
So for us, it is. I think one of the biggest thing was we wanted to sort of have what we have right now in Edinburgh. We will be looking at other cities within the next few years. But it is it's not just having presence in cities, but it's making sure that we're able to sustain, the quality. So for me, that's one of the reasons why, I won't just stand up and say, look, we're going to go because we have a name here now. No, it's about making sure that we were able to build people that would help us replicate the same value that we bring to the market anywhere else.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Round of applause. And Ishani from Kakinotech. So basically, just answer all the questions. Mic up.
I could just do that, yeah.
Lovely. So I'm going to test to see if you'll be listening to myself and John. So basically, answer all the questions I've given to John.
Start from the beginning.
Well, yeah, so again, who is Ishani? Without telling us what you do for work, don't tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Ishani. I grew up in India in a city called Bangalore. Really, really big city. So I love Edinburgh because it's actually much smaller, which is perfect. I like to walk to places, and I couldn't do that in Bangalore. So it's good to be here, settled here now. Well, I always wanted to be a scientist when I was growing up, even though I don't actually come from a very scientific family. But I do come from a family of entrepreneurs because my dad is also an entrepreneur, a completely different business. So I always wanted to start something of my own. And I love food. I love, during my free time, which is very, very less, but during my free time, I like to go for a swim. It really relaxes me. And I'm married, and I've got 2 cats, so I love to spend time with them. So yeah, that's me.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, I mean, you swim. That's interesting. I've been learning to swim for the last 2 years.
Okay.
And I think my teachers have given up on me. I'm not joking, because they've told me to do the things they expect me to do to float, but I always sink. And they are beginning to accept that there are people like me that just can't float.
Can't swim.
I can swim underwater. I just can't float. But moving on anyway. So, I mean, tell us, elevator pitch. Tell us about Kakinotech in 30 seconds. And mind, so Kakinotech for dummies.
So what Kakinotech does is we are 3D printing tumors using patient biopsies, immune cells, blood from the patient, etc., to be able to provide a platform for rapid and ethical drug testing. And essentially, these can be used for preclinical testing just before it goes into clinical trials, and personalized medicine testing as well. So we want to be able to use these printed tumors in order to create treatment response reports, but because every patient is different, so include diversity as well as other factors for that play a huge part in treatment decisions for patients. So be able to provide that rapidly and accurately.
Fantastic, thank you. So I'll break that down quickly. So what your company does is you take 3D printed tumors from cancer patients?
Yes. No, we get biopsies from cancer patients, and then we 3D print them. So we essentially replicate the biopsy, but we use 3D printing to do that. Okay,
so break that down again. What's a biopsy?
So biopsies essentially you usually get when you go for a diagnosis for cancer. So it's essentially a part of the actual tumor area. It's a very small part of it. So we get it's
like
a
micro,
very, very tiny.
And
then we get cells from those biopsies. So it's all derived from the patient. And we also get immune cells from the patient, which helps in the immune responses for drugs. And then we use all of that to create replicas of those biopsies, because you only are able to get one from each patient because it is very invasive. So we try to replicate that into multiple different formats. So from one biopsy, we get about over 400. So you can test over 400 drugs.
So you take those 400 and then you take drugs from pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah, usually.
So these are your clients?
So either experimental drugs from pharmaceutical companies, or the other, that's for preclinical testing, usually when these drug compounds are in earlier stages of drug testing before they go into clinical trials. So we can test those, and then we can see which drug works better for which patient, and then they can go into clinical trials.
Okay.
And then for personalized medicine testing, where we can then predict treatment responses for each patient.
Okay, so this is mostly lab work, like white coats and...
Yes, it's all,
Yep.
it's all lab. It's all, I would say it's a mix of hardware and software, but it's mostly, wet lab. Yeah.
Sounds very intelligent. I struggled with biology in school, and I love mathematics and all that.
Yeah,
But biology was my worst subject. So I always admire folks like you that sort of thrive in that area. So growing up, I think you've answered it. But growing up, did you ever see yourself, as one day I'm going to have my own business, or did it just happen? Was this an happenstance?
So I guess, as I mentioned earlier, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad started his own business, and I always wanted to start something of my own. I've actually never worked in academia. I've always worked in industry. So that was another kind of like driver behind not actually going and doing a PhD after my master's, because that's something that a lot of people do that in this field is they go. Do a PhD and then start something. And I thought, okay, if I'm gonna do research for 4 years, I might as well start and build that in the company, and that's what I did. So definitely, it was something that I wanted to do. When I was doing my biotechnology bachelor's, I came up with an idea for cancer diagnosis, and I was also working in hospitals at the same time.
So where was this?
This was in Bangalore.
Bangalore,
yeah.
Okay.
And I was working in these hospitals called HCG Oncology. It's a massive hospital, and they've got centers all over India, but it's a really good hospital for oncology, particularly. So I got a chance to work there as a scientist. I would be working in the labs, and I would do quite a lot of assay work for diagnosis.
So what's assay work?
Essentially just lab work for diagnosing patients.
Okay.
And I would get samples, again, biopsy samples from patients, and we would then run tests in the lab. And then the second part of the day, I would essentially try to shadow the business development head of hospitals, because in India, again, it's just like the US, it's private. Healthcare is just all private. So we had BD officers and everyone on the business development side. So I did get quite a lot of insights into how hospitals are actually run, and the business side of the hospitals as well, which was very interesting. So that, again, gave me a bit of a push to start something of my own.
So at that point, were you already, for you to be, so it sounds like you've been intentional from that point. So did you have an end goal in mind at that point, around at some point in the future, I would like to start something in this space? Was that the case?
Yes, definitely it was going to be in cancer.
Okay.
It was because that's just my background was in cancer diagnosis. So I always knew that it was going to be in cancer. And when I did my master's in regenerative medicine at the University of Edinburgh, I actually came up with an idea which combined stem cell research and cancer, which is what Casino Tech is doing now. So,
fantastic. Yeah. So that leads me nicely into my next question. So walk us through from Edinburgh University. When was this?
So this was in 2016.
2016.
Yeah, so it's 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
So walk us through from Edinburgh University 2016 to, I guess, Casino Tech in 2024. What journey have you been on?
Yeah, so when I was doing my master's, I came up with the idea for Casino Tech, which was still it was more different, slightly different from what it is just now. When I went to my supervisors and I pitched the idea, they really liked the idea, and we had this Dragon's Den style pitching competition, where we were it was an assignment where we would come up with a business plan, and we actually did. Because we were right next to the Royal Infirmary, we would go speak to, I would go speak to surgeons and oncologists on a regular basis to try and even find out. So I did my market research even before, I started thinking about the idea, because I wanted to know what actually the need was in the market, and whether if I came up with something like this, would people use it? And obviously the end users are the scientists that are working, whether in hospitals, whether in pharma, whether in academia. So that was kind of a very insightful experience, and that really helped shape the early stages of the idea. Then I did go to Edinburgh Innovations with it after that because I was advised by my supervisors to speak to them.
So was this after your master's? Or
No, it was
during
just
your
during my
master's?
master's, yeah. So this was 6 months into my master's. And when I spoke to Edinburgh Innovations, they said, this sounds really good, we can help you out. And we can, support you and give you like guide you as to what grant funding and things like that you can apply for.
Okay. So
I didn't set it up. Yeah.
So I'll jump in there. So Edinburgh Innovations, again, so as part of ecosystem and all that. So
Yes.
who is or what is Edinburgh Innovations?
So they're like the University of Edinburgh's technology transfer arm, essentially.
Okay. Almost like
started off with that, but now they are doing quite a few things in different areas, like in commercialization for university and things. So they're usually the place to go if you're at the University of Edinburgh and you want to actually start something. They're a very, very good place to actually get guidance and support. They usually have mentors that have either started companies and scaled that up, or they even have like people just connected in the ecosystem, as we were talking about earlier.
Fantastic. And this is just for students? For students of Edinburgh University?
Yeah, students and alumni of Edinburgh University. Yeah, so if you're an alumni, you can still go to them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you continue your story.
Yeah, so yeah, no problem at all. So so that was actually really, really helpful because I got a really good mentor from Edinburgh Innovations, and I had the option of either setting up the company as a spin-out or as a private company. I set it up as a private company because all the IP belonged to me, so it was very easy for me to transfer the IP. Because I did do a little bit of work, but it was all because it was not a PhD, it was part of master's, so everything belonged to me. So it was very easy for me to transfer that intellectual property into the business.
How did you know anything? I mean, you're a scientist, so how did you get the knowledge around intellectual property? Did you read up on it, or how did you think?
It was during my time when I was at the hospitals,
Okay.
and that was that business development experience that I got was part of that. So I was actually looking at commercialization of a few therapies, but also looking at clinical trial management. A lot of it involved intellectual property, protection of intellectual property, so I was quite aware of it already. And the mentor that I had, who was the business development head of the hospitals, he was fantastic. He was really good at actually supporting. I would write reports for him almost every week, and I got to learn quite a lot, and it was all very hands-on. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah, so you can continue.
And then I think when I set up the company, there was a lot of support from Edinburgh Innovations in terms of guiding me towards what would be the best funding opportunities I could apply for, any kind of grant fundings. And the good thing is that Edinburgh Innovations actually does help you write grants as well. So if you're not very experienced at that, then they do help you. Or they help you like shape up your grant application so that it is you've got exactly you've got a chance of success. So that was quite helpful in the beginning, and then I went through some of the ecosystem business competitions, like Converge was one that was really helpful, and this was just after I'd completed the masters as well. So I didn't immediately set up the company, but I knew that I was going to. So I didn't register the company officially, but I was already working on the idea.
Okay, and did you get any grant funding from those applications, or did?
I did, though. It does take a lot of time to get grants, so it did take me like 6 to 8 months before I had got grant funding. There was definitely a few failures, which happens, when you're starting up. I think it's and it's one of the things that I would highly recommend people to do. Yeah, it does happen a lot, and that happened to me quite a bit. And because also being a sole founder, it was quite challenging, just because I had to do everything. So as soon as I graduated, I got a job, but I started working. In a smaller stem cell company called Senso, and learned a lot because it was. I wouldn't say like a startup, but it was small enough because they have two different sites. So I did learn quite a bit while I was there. Even though I was just working as a scientist, as a stem cell scientist, I still learned how to, because I had projects that I was managing. I was looking at budgets. I was looking at, so that kind of hands-on experience was really helpful as well. And whilst I was doing that, I was shaping up the business plan to get it ready for investment, and also looking at applying for further grants and things like that. So finally, when I did get some Scottish Enterprise grants, which Smart Grants is one that helps you prove your idea of feasibility. So that was something that was really, that kind of kicked off. And then I was able to hire people after that. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. A big round of applause for
Shani.
That is pretty impressive. So at what point did you, so the point just stops that story around I started hiring. When was that? Was that a few years ago?
So that was, I think it would be the first hire was 2019. So I set up the company in 2018.
Okay.
I didn't pay myself for 6 months, lived off my savings, put all my savings into the business. And then, 2019 was the first hire that I made. It was a part-time hire that I made. And then right after that, in 2020, September, I got the first investment in, along with the grants,
Okay. Yeah. And, there was something you said earlier around, it's good to be connected to the ecosystem, but at some point you need to go out and start, and I think that was what you did, because, you could be speaking to Scottish Enterprise Business Gateway, learning so much, but at some point, I think we need to just, go give it, start. And see if it works or if it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, we think of how we can tweak it. Okay, so moving on from there then. So you've been growing the business since then, because I read I've been doing some snooping on you. So it seems you've grown the team, you've been recognized in a few, you've received some awards. So do you want to tell us a bit about that and how the business has grown since the launch?
Sure. So I think that first investment that we got was from Gabriel Syndicate, and they're a group of angels that invest in smaller high-risk companies. So that was actually really helpful for myself, because I could then combine some of that investment with some of the grants that I had got. So I was able to maximize the funding, and that allowed me to hire a couple of more people. So we were about 4 in 2021, 2021, and then of course COVID. So we were still working through COVID. We were still doing, because we had a couple of grants that we still had to get working with. So we got started getting some really good data, and then we collaborated with Cancer Research UK. And that's when I think it truly shaped up the product, because we got some really good feedback from the scientists that were using our product, and that was very helpful, because we were speaking to professors and started our research with brain tumors, and that was very, very good to kind of scale that up. And as soon as we had that almost positive feedback, then we started looking for more commercialization. So we actually started commercializing much earlier than we thought we would, which was an interesting problem to have, but also meant that we could go for further investment. So to scale up that commercialization.
Okay. So it seems there's been a lot happening, with the business. It's been growing at a pretty fast pace.
Yeah.
Did you get any support, any mentorship, any, again, as part of the ecosystem? Was there anyone sort of holding your hands on the journey? And even, I was thinking, and this could sound like a stupid question, like even things like setting up the physical lab. Did you get support with that, or did you just sort of, because you've worked in labs, did you sort of know how to go about that?
So because I worked at Senso,
yes,
I knew that there were spaces available in the same building.
Okay.
So I knew that they had incubator spaces. Okay. So this is in Rosslyn Innovation Center. Again, a fantastic place for people to, if they need lab and office spaces, then it's really good, really reasonable for smaller companies as well. And I got some really good support there, and they were quite keen to have us. So I started with one desk, and started with a very small little area that I got as a lab. And now we've expanded to 3 labs, and we have 16 spaces there. So
fantastic, fantastic. So I was going to ask, so you spoke about getting investments from Gabriel?
Yes.
Gabriel Syndicate?
Yes.
How did that come to be? Was that through connections that you knew, or?
Yes, so again, it was through, I guess, Converge business competitions, and as well as mentors from Edinburgh Innovations. They'd kind of given me an indication of, okay, these are the angel syndicates you could pitch to, if you want to get that early stage investment. So there were a few that I pitched to, and Gabriel was one that I really liked because they do support this kind of business, like science and tech businesses, and they had investors that were able to then help not just with the money, but also the mentorship and the guidance.
Okay.
And then I also got in 2020 after the investment round, I also got a chair on board from the industry. So our chair, who's still our chair now, Albert Nicol, and he's been an excellent mentor to me in terms of growing, because he's done it before.
Yeah.
He's run big teams and he's run small teams. He just understands the market really well as well. So that mentorship has been very, very helpful for me.
Okay.
And now we have a really good supportive board around me as well.
Okay, thanks, Ishani. And what I'm picking from this is, it sounds you got a lot of support, but then you must have gotten those supports because you spoke out, you went asking.
Yes,
right?
I did.
And
yes.
you know, that was the same thing we got. For those of you that were with us at the Glasgow event, that was the same thing. You know, Dr. Alabi, he also has some intelligence program, microfluidics invention as well. And again, a lot of the support he got was because he went out there, he just, you know, he cried out saying, I need help, this is what I'm trying to do. And then someone says, go speak to this person, go speak to that.
Yeah.
So I think there's value in people just picking up.
Yeah.
And again, just to encourage those of us that are here today, if you've got ideas and you're just here and you're listening, and at the end of the chat, if you're just going to have some rice and go home, it's nice, but it's good for, let's have a conversation, speak to someone, tell someone, this is what I'm trying to do. By having that conversation, that person can then say, oh, I know someone you should speak with. So let's get that conversation going. Don't just come here, listen to Ishani, you know, listen to John, say, oh yeah, that was a great chat, I'm going home. Let's speak amongst ourselves, speak to, I mean, the man himself is here. Mr. Murray is very connected, you know, so speak with anyone here, and someone can point you to someone for you to kickstart. And again, we don't want you to be coming to Knowvate Hub's events over the next year. It's nice, but then at some point we want you to say, you know, to speak to you or to speak to me, to say, you know, guys, it's been fantastic. I've actually started this. I'm looking to start this. This is what we're trying to achieve. We don't want it to just be a networking event. Sorry, I think I've gone into preach mode there. Okay. So I think my next question is around, you know, what legacy do you want to leave? What do you want to be remembered for? Because what you're doing is tangible, right? Because some inventions are good, but they are mainly, you know, for profit. Yours seems to have some kind of cause behind it. And what drove you into this space? And, you know, what do you want to be remembered for, Ishani?
So it's definitely going to be, and this might sound quite cheesy, but it's definitely going to be for saving lives, because I think at the end of the day, this is why I'm doing this. It's you know, it's the fact that if a drug that we've tested early on has gone into clinical trials, has successfully gone into market, and has actually made a difference in someone who's been suffering from cancer, I think that would be what I would like to be remembered for. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ishani. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Do you want to come give us the closing remark?
I do on the QR code only. Does anybody have any question for either Ishani or John? Any burning questions? Yes. Let me give this to you so that people can hear you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Egosa, and I'm just happy. Is this working?
It's working.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's fine. I'm just really happy to be here, and I feel fired up. So it's actually great. So quick question, probably for both of you, John and Ishani. So before you started, or rather, how long did it take you from having the idea to implementation? How long did that take you, just roughly?
Yes.
How long did it take from starting up to?
From ideation to...
So I would say for me it was 7 years. Yeah. To where we are just now. Yeah, because we're still growing. So, but 7 years. Yeah. I don't think this is working.
No, it's for the online.
Oh right.
Yeah, I think for us it's about 5 years just now. As I said, the whole business thing wasn't like a dream that we were dreaming about and all that. It was just the right opportunities were happening, and we were in the right place, prepared for it. So, I don't know if that helps. Cheers.
Okay.
Yes.
So good chat. I think, I've learned a lot. Thank you so much for the experience. My question is in terms of hiring and managing people. So in terms of your systems, the systems you have in place, especially when you've got you're looking at bringing in remote employees. And of course, as a small startup, you're starting. Most times, you don't have all the the HR tools like Workday and everything to track time. So how do you manage all that? And of course, ensure you're getting productivity, the right productivity from your employees.
So you're asking how she manages remote teams?
So I guess when I started, I was doing quite a lot of it myself, including HR. And I was managing everyone. Now I have hired senior managers who are then managing other people. So that's and I guess with remote, we just do check in with them a lot of times, but we also give them enough tools to be able to actually work individually, and they don't really need to be in the office too much, which is fine. And then in terms of actually systems, I would say we didn't get anything in place until 2022, which was we just use Sage HR, which is actually pretty good when you're a small company. We are looking to maybe go to some other systems, but that's one that we have had experience with and has been good so far. We've recently hired a CFO who does come with some HR experience as well. So that's been a bit of a, so she's doing both at the moment. But we will hire someone for HR in the future as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Aiden, and I'll come to you.
Good evening. Yes, I'll just ask you one question, just a step back where he asked you just now. In terms of support, when you're just by yourself, before you start getting a team around you, you need to implement the HR or your accountancy, just as you both said there. Obviously, you need a team around you. Is there anyone you recommend in the ecosystem that has helped you? So far in my journey, I'm running a startup just now, and what I've come across is that I'm at a stage in my startup now where I need some support. So for instance, to put in some stuff in place. But when you go and you get recommended to, say for instance, I speak to a solicitor, Shepherd and Wedderburn, but they're saying that, okay, we can't help you yet because you're not at turning over 1 million yet. So obviously we need those type of people in the ecosystem who can say, okay, you're not there yet, but we can do some pro bono work for you, or basically direct you. So then they will direct me and say, okay, speak to this accountancy firm. And I have a meeting this week with the accountancy firm. And they're like, okay, we still can't help you yet because you're going to need to raise $500,000 first before we can help you. So then you're basically just going round and round in circles to get a little bit of tiny help. And one help that I wanted to get was basically just about changing to raise some investment this year. So when I registered by myself on Company House, and I basically just do the basic that is on Company House to do it. But then I went ahead and I actually now want to basically increase that, you call it the shares, yes, like to set up the cap table. And I just basically want some handheld to basically say, this is what you need to do. So I'm working with Seed Legals, but they can't basically come off their platform to say, this is what you need to do on Company House. So I'll spend like 2 hours trying to basically say, okay, yes, this is what I need to do, read some documents, go on YouTube, come back to Google, but then you're still just going around in circle. But if somebody could say, this is all you need to do, but later on, they know that later on when you raise investment, you're going to work with that firm. Is there anyone that has actually helped you in that journey?
Is it a tech business or it's a tech business? Yeah. So so I would say for accountants, we use someone called Account Tech when we started, and they're really good for very early stage when it's literally just you or one other person. So I would highly recommend them. for earlier stages. And for lawyers, I would say MBM are fantastic. Again, we still use them. You can use them when you're small. You can even use them when you're scaling up and growing and going into maybe even exits, right? So they just offer all of it. So they'll be able to help you out. I would highly recommend them because they also come with, it's not just about the legal side, but they also give you like advice, and all of that advice will be for free. You don't have to pay for the advice. They're really helpful in that aspect. But I would recommend those two because that's who we work with. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can I quickly say, or do you want to say?
I was going to say, I can catch up with you as well to recommend an accountant. Not me, I can recommend an accountant for you as well, so you can catch up after.
I wanted to say, in terms of the legal bit, this is not a plug-in, but I do have an event running at Codebase Sterling in conversation with Harper McLeod. It's a legal firm that help people through investment raising. So maybe come in and have a chat, or come to the event, or we could have a private chat. I've been having a conversation with one of the partners, Erin, who is looking to maybe run clinic sessions in the Sterling Hub if there is a need for it, and you're not going to be paying her. So you can ask the questions and she will answer your questions and just lead. I know you're looking for a bit of hand-holding, so I should be able to provide that. And you're my friend, Aiden. Send me a message. Let's talk about it. And then reach out to Enoch for accountants as well. I used to use Alan & Buck when I started, which was it didn't cost me a lot to have them doing all my stuff, and then they transferred me to, I remember their names, when he was selling the business, he sold like his clients to the same business, and it's still not very expensive, and they do a bit of hand holding. So if you're looking, if all of these people, you can check them out, but reach out to Enoch. He is a finance person. He knows what to do. But in terms of the legal bit, I'm happy to make introductions to Harper McLeod, and you can speak to one of the partners there, yes?
Okay, thank you so much to the speakers for sharing your stories. So I want to ask you, at what point did you tell yourself that it was time to start seeking for investors, for people to start writing grants for you? Was it still at the ideation point, or when you started to set up things for your business?
So it was, I would say it was when I had the idea, because it's the best way to get funding for proving your idea. In my case, at least, it was because it was very scientific. So I needed to get grant funding to be able to actually prove the idea and the concept first with scientific data, and then move on to commercialization. So that was So I would say if it's a very I guess even any tech business would require that kind of proof of concept. So yeah, but I guess
I'll give to John.
Yeah.
John.
I'll be honest with you, I've not spoken to any investor before for any of these things. It's a family-run business, and, we've sort of put our savings and all our hard work into this, so it kind of depends. But as they've said, for one of the things I always say is for people to give you their money, you would have to show them something. There's nothing free in Freetown, so if it's an idea, anybody can come up with any idea. So it needs to go beyond an idea into something that would profit whoever is putting their money back. Investors are not stupid people, believe me. Yeah.
All right. In closing, does anybody have any more questions? No. I want to signpost a few things. Ollie has done a great job signposting the industry. If you could help us scan the QR code, I remember it now, QR code, and just give us feedback about the event. It's really important to me to measure. If you know me very well, my engineering background hasn't left me. I like to measure and track and make sure that we are delivering what we ought to do. For people who are looking to start, I am currently running an evangelism. It's called Idea Factory. I'm going around schools. We're running this in collaboration with University of Stirling, and Barclays Ego Labs as well has just, Dave is going to go with me on this journey. We'll run a couple of Idea Fest events across my region, which is Central Scotland, not Edinburgh. But you're very welcome to come. The idea is for people to come and talk about their ideas. If you haven't said it out loud to anybody, just with fellow people who are looking to ideate. We have an event coming up on the 25th of January in University of Stirling. It's an ideation workshop. So it's actually people who are going to teach you how to ideate properly. So if you want to come in and talk about your idea and learn how to ideate properly, especially if you're looking to build a tech business or actually a traditional business, because I know Codebase is very niche to tech software as a product sort of businesses, but there are other support people who can actually work on wide range of things like Nick here. So talk to Nick about it. Come to the Idea Factory event. Come to the one that we have just now, and let's talk about your ideas. Catch me anywhere. If you send me an email, I always respond. If you're dying, don't call me. Send me an email. But send me an email. I'll respond. Like Ollie said, be clear about your ask. That's just the thing with me. Let me know what exactly you want me to do. Do you want to be signposted? What do you need? Don't say hi, hello, just checking on you. I might say hi back, but I'm not going to push it. Be clear with your ask. Let me know what you need me to do, or you can introduce your products and I can signpost you to the right people. We are here to help. And we are passionate about helping. So please take advantage of all of these things that have been taught to you today or things that have been spoken about. Be inspired by the journeys of these individuals. Please put your hands together for John and Ishani. Thank you so much for coming and have a good evening. Can I ask that we do a sharp 8 leaving of the building? Let's not be headed out. At 8, I want everyone out of the building. Can we have a group photo here? Thank you. Right after I chided you.